accounts online. Ooh, there we go. There are free accounts online where you can, log in and try it out yourself. So, and we're gonna walk you through that on this call. So let's get into it. Here, give me a second. So it really introduction to AI. So, and this is kind of the first thing, and this really blew my mind when I really understand how AI works. And I'm gonna try to simplify it because a lot of the time is I don't even really understand how it works, and even the most advanced AI experts at this point do not really understand thoroughly how AI thinks and how AI comes up with stuff. But it started basically where it was an algorithm, and it was essentially this machine learning algorithm. That's kind of that people would train on specific things. Like I'll give you an example. If you took like basically a bunch of code, an algorithm, and then trained it that whenever you say, what is the capital of Texas, that the output should always be Austin, right? And then you trained it over and over again, this algorithm would essentially learn that whenever you say, what is the capital of Texas, that it's going to predict that you're going to say Austin. And then it's trained on more and more data where it will understand, it won't really understand, but it will know, and it will basically try and predict the next kind of words that are coming. I know that kind of sounds really weird, but it's really important to understand how that really works. So another example of how this goes on is it's like it's better to kind of walk you through step by step how this works, but that is how these advanced AI models are coming about. We started where people would essentially just feed these algorithms lots of just data on terms of what's the input and what's the output. Like, for example, it would be, and slowly it would learn more and more about how to do that. So that's kind of a little bit about how it works. So to go over how AI works from data, this is how machine learning, it is basically shown a lot of data. That's kind of what I've gone over. It's shown a lot of information, books, articles, and then it is shown exactly how, and then it is given kind of inputs. People will ask questions, and then it'll give the ideal output. And it's given that over and over and over again, so it knows what the input's like, and it basically will try to predict the output. And that's what you're seeing. That is what you're seeing when you type on ChatGPT. It is essentially predicting the next word of what it's trying to say. And that really blew my mind because I was like, oh, for the longest time, I thought of AI as this like smart thing, but really all it is doing is it is trained on lots of data, and it is just predicting essentially what the output is. And that's kind of how it discovers patterns in the data, and it discovers patterns well enough to produce answers that seem like it understands. But in reality, AI does not understand. It does not think the way that we think. All it is doing is it's an algorithm that is predicting what the output is. So that's kind of the core thing to understand, is it doesn't think like us. It just is predicting. So it's kind of I like how it's like a very advanced form of autocomplete, essentially. And so the key players we can go over, and there's a few other of these, but it's important to know the different types of AI models and where we can get into this. And essentially the specialization of what each AI models. What most of you have heard of as ChatGPT, that's OpenAI. OpenAI was one of these first research organizations that had developed AI models where users, like consumers, could use. And their models are very good at analysis. They have lots of really great thinking models. They released 2 models actually yesterday that are groundbreakingly good. And what they are really, really good at is taking a bunch of data and then analyzing it and thinking it through. It's very good at math. It's very good at science. It's very good at STEM-related tasks. So if you're ever going to do something related to math, science, STEM, OpenAI models are going to be the best. The next one would be Claude, and Claude is great at writing. So if you are writing an email, if you want to write a story, if you want to write an essay about something, Claude is going to be really good at that. They have the best writing abilities, that they sound the best. and they're overall just they're good at coming up with creative ideas. And then there's Gemini. Gemini is Google's AI model, and what Gemini is really good at is essentially taking a bunch of information and then finding small bits of information. It basically has a huge, what's called a context window. And a context window is essentially how much the brain of the AI, how much information it can process at once. So like compared to ChatGPT, which you could feed it maybe a book and it would be able to read that whole book. Gemini could be able to read a whole library. It's just able to process a bunch of information and then to find specific information in that. So that's kind of understanding which models, if you have a specific task and you're like, I really want to essentially, I don't know, calculate this complicated math problem, OpenAI is going to be best. If you're like, oh, I have, I basically have a whole transcript of a recording of a meeting that I was on, and I want to be able to find the best bits and places where we talk back and forth. Gemini is going to be the best at that. And if you're like, I really want something that's just going to be good at writing and respond to emails for me, Anthropic's going to be good at that. So that's kind of understand. There's two others that I would understand, Llama and Minstrel, and we could probably get into these two a bit later, but these are really good at fine tuning. And these are because they're open source models. And when I say open source, that's essentially meaning that these companies, which is Facebook and Mistral AI, has basically given the model for free, where anybody can download it, they can run it on their own computer, they can get their own server and they can run it, and that you could basically have that AI model for free. And all you would have to do is pay for the server or the computer, right? But the beauty of the things with open source models is you can fine tune them. And to fine tune them, essentially what that means is you take a bunch of your own data, like bunch of your own documents. So say you want to like fine tune a model to speak in the exact way that you want to. You can take a bunch of your own documents, feed it to the model, and it can kind of learn all of these documents. So that model is fine tuned to do a specific task. Some people will fine tune models to essentially feed it a bunch of information about prices of, like, I don't know, art pieces, and then it can try and predict the price of a specific art piece or something like that. There's just things where if you can feed it lots of very specific information about something, and then it will slowly pick up and learn how to work with that. So that's what fine tuning. That's more advanced, and we'll get into that probably in a later session. But I wanted to give that kind of first little thing to get an idea of how this all works. So how do these models actually work? There's three parts you have to understand. There's the language model. That's the algorithm. That's kind of the brain. The training data, this is everything that the AI model knows. This is its understanding. This is everything that it's been like, of course, AI models are trained everything from books to articles to tweets to just a whole bunch of stuff. That's the data. And then there's the parameters. These are essentially the kind of knobs and weights inside they're like little kind of things you can change. And we'll get into what this means and how it works. But I just want to give these terms first. These are the things that you can change to adjust the way it outputs information. For example, its creativity, or you could output its length. These are things you can change, the little knobs you can turn. We already went over fine tuning. So now we're going to get into the fun part, prompt engineering. So the goal with AI, and this has become how the most successful people will always be the ones that are the best at communicating effectively with AI. And that is what a prompt is. It is learning how to write text in human language, any specific language, right? And learning how to speak and be able to communicate that effectively with the AI. Because keep in mind, the AI is not a human. And so it will communicating with it is, you're speaking your own language, but you're speaking it in a way that the AI can best understand what you're trying to get at. And that's what effective prompting is. And that's what we're going to go over a lot today. And that's kind of how really the most important thing when it comes to, coding with AI, writing with AI, all of it comes down to how good are you at communicating with this AI model. So the principles of a good prompt, and we'll go over this, is defining a role of style, giving examples of the output and iterating and refining. And so we'll go into this specifically. I think now would be a good time to go, and I want to go in and I want to walk you through how we do this over ChatGPT. So I'm going to use ChatGPT for this. I think that it is kind of my favorite model right now. So now would be a great opportunity if you want to open up ChatGPT, or there's also Claude, which is great, or Gemini. If you have an account for any of these, it would be great to, now would be a good time to open that up. And so we can walk you through a lot of how we can write an effective prompt. So I'll give a few seconds here to get everybody. If you guys want to open up your own table.
And Angus, just in case, I'm imagining many people do not have accounts set up with Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Could you maybe just at the end of the call drop into the chat, or just in some way give us the links to how we could do that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, totally. I can also prepare. Maybe I can prepare an email for everybody that goes over some of the prompts that I use and some of the resources that I would best recommend when using AI. And I can send that out to everybody. I can also just send it in the chat as well, to make
an email would be amazing, and I can share it in WhatsApp groups as well. That's amazing.
Sure. Yeah, totally. So let's see. Does anybody have an idea of what we want to do with the AI? Let's see. Do we want to write an email? Do we want to let's provide an example. Like, does anybody have any ideas of that they want to see happen in real time? Like, do we want to write an essay about something particular? Do you want to write a bit of code? Do you want to write a little application? Maybe that's a little bit too advanced. Does anybody have any ideas? You're welcome to put it in the chat, or let's write an email. Nice. That's probably the best. AI. Oh, I'm seeing all of the comments now. AI is totally the future. I should have had this open the whole time. I see somebody raise their hand in email. All right, looks like people are voting for an email. Rivatex, you raise your hand.
Oh yeah. I wanted to give like, can we do an essay like on maybe oh goodness, I wanted to say creative writing. Can we do a creative story? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we could combine something of between email and a creative writing story. It is. I don't know. Let's think about this. We could do an email, somebody that it's better to do one or the other, and we could do both. Let's start with an email, and then we can move on to a story of how we would do this. So first, we're going to define the role or style. So this email, emails. The whole goal of an email is to sound human, right? People don't like receiving emails that are like super robotic, and because it doesn't sound human. So the best way when writing an email is to prompt it, the role that you're giving it. A lot of people would say act as an email expert, right? That's just going to output like a basic, very basic, like kind of robotic email, because it is acting as somebody who's really good at writing emails, and typically that data that it's going to think of is going to be very robotic. So the best way I would define it is act as a busy professional. That is a good way to start. And then you can go more into depth on, its character, who it is. Act as a busy professional. You are between meetings. You are smart. You have a subtle sense of personality. I like to say that.
You're a queer activist.
And you are a queer activist. Nice. Let's see what else. Something just like this is totally enough to start off a great prompt. It's giving it the frame of like, who am I? Like, who am I? And essentially what it's actually doing is it is only going to think about that specific writing it's trained on, because it's trained on so much stuff. And now that it's going to start from this frame and it's going to look in its kind of data, I would call it like a database or its knowledge base of writing and text and emails that it's trained on. And it's only going to look for the ones that are written that are as a busy professional, that are between meetings, that are also a queer activist. And that's how it's going to write this output. So that's a good start. Let's see if there's anything else. You write in a, I'm going to say brute, like a undeniably human way. You make minor mistakes. You are rushed. I like to say that you apologize for being late to respond. You are very authentically real. Humans are not perfect. The thing with AI is it will always output. It likes to be perfect. And humans are not, right? We are flawed. We make mistakes. We don't get things grammatically entirely correct. So that's the first part. We have define the role and style. So next would be to give examples of output. This is really powerful. People neglect this a lot. They like to just prompt the engineer, but don't actually give any examples of the output. So typically how I like to do this is I go through and I will say, one, include minor grammatical imperfections. So I would say, let's see, what's a minor grammatical imperfection? Like, let's see, thanks for the email. We'll get back to this soon. Something that's just brutally quick, right? Let's see that you have a sense of, that's our first example. Let's go on to, you have a subtle sense of personality. You have a subtle personality. One thing that I find funny is when people make jokes about how they haven't had their morning coffee. So when I get a meeting, it's like, sorry for the late reply. Haven't had enough caffeine today. Something like that, where it's like shows the human side, right? These are just examples. That's a kind of enough example. You can also give full examples of emails, right? And then you can, write some examples. Hey, James. Wanted to, let's see, what is this email? Put in the chat, what do we want this email to be about? What are we writing James about? What do we, or really like, what the examples that we give doesn't really matter, but wanted to, I can also just give, I wanted to send you a quick note about just something quick. You can even include variables like XYZ. Want to hop call later, something like that. Just a few examples of emails, and then you can, go example 2, example 3. And then now that we have our main, like, essentially our frame of how it's going to prompt, then you can get into their specific task. So your specific task. So now we can get it. What are we writing this message to? What's his name? You are writing a message to, let's see, say Amani, we're writing a message to you about how, let's say my name is Justin in this case, and I'm writing a message to Amani. My name is Justin. Or so your name is Justin. You're right, about how you are coming to Cape Town in the fall. Include that you will be bringing your friend Angus, let's say, which that isn't happening yet, but I'm just for this sake. And then that is really all you need. So this is just a super simple basic thing. And a lot of this is, the beauty of this prompt is you can copy this, you can save this in something like Notion or your Notes app. And whenever you're writing an email, you can just copy and paste this prompt in, and you can, and then the AI is essentially going to have that prompt that you can reuse over and over again that knows your writing style. And then as you go on, you can refine this. You can add more examples. You can improve the prompt. So let's go this, see what it does. And I'll compare it to, let's compare it to a prompt that we can write. Like if we did not include this first bit, I'll show you what the output would look like with it. Please write this email to Amani. So we can give an idea of what it would look like with the prompt and without the prompt. Let's wait till it finishes. All right, cool. Thanks for doing it. See how much more human. I just wanted to dash up a quick note while my next student. So sorry for the late reply. I haven't had enough coffee. See how it's like bringing in there. Flights are locked. Bring my friend. Brilliant. Slightly chaotic. Total ally. Nice. I would say that is correct. I am slightly chaotic. Planning to carve out some time for queer outreach stuff. While you're there. Oh, the beauty of something with ChatGPT, by the way, is it will remember, it will have a memory. And so clearly I didn't say anything about this chat about how I was queer or anything around that. And it remembered that I am, because I've also probably chatted in here about myself before it. So it understands that. Nate, I see that you raised your hand.
Yeah, just wanted to ask about if then someone is using AI detector, is this detectable?
So this is kind of the funny bit with AI detectors. AI will easily get around AI detectors. Most AI detectors are just a marketing scheme or something to essentially scare people into stop using AI.
Oh, okay.
AI detectors, all you have to do, and this is really funny. All you have to do is, because it's trained on data that will bypass AI detectors. So all you have to do, if you want to really make sure that you are not going to get detected by an AI detector, you could say write in a human way that will bypass AI detectors. Now to prove this, I'm going to go to an AI detector, AI writing detector. I don't know if this is free. Let's see if this works. And it's not going to, there's no way that this is going to detect that's AI. 0% of your text is likely AI.
Wow.
That's all you have to do. It's so funny. Yeah, these AI detectors are not going to pick up. So
Thank you.
Really, there's lots of arguments where people will say, if you use AI, you're going to use your natural sense of writing, or if you use your AI, you're going to, stop using the parts of your brain where you didn't have to. And I say, yeah, you are. But that's where the future is going. And like before, I don't know, what's a good, before there were cars, people would say, oh, you're going to lose your sense of riding a horse, right? Or something like that. Or before there was like calculators, you're going to use your sense of, but the positive outcome to society that was created from cars and calculators definitely outweighs the fact that I no longer can calculate advanced math in my head, or I have no idea how to ride like a cart and buggy or something like that. But all right, yeah. 2 questions, Mossy. I see you raise your hand, Mossy.
Hey, and thank you so much, Angus. I wanted to know that if I'm going to do my creative writing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible? Okay.
Yes.
I was asking that if I write my own creative writing using AI, and how do I now use this as copyright for myself and ensure that it's not duplicated in someone else's writing?
Yeah, good question. And the best way to do that is when you're writing a prompt, or when you're doing this, is to include past examples of your writing. And one thing, an easy way that you can do this, on top of this, if you want it to be easy, is you can say, act as a professional prompt engineer, please write a system prompt based on all of my writing. Include examples. I want to use this prompt to essentially write more creative writing pieces. And then you could say, here are examples of my writing. And then you can just paste in all of the examples of your writing, just like copy and paste like the stuff that you have written, and then put it in here, and then it will output essentially the kind of the prompt that we just wrote. You know, it will output a system prompt. That's what it's called, is a prompt that you put before your main task that is essentially going to train and get the AI to think in a certain way. And that will output a prompt there, and you can just like paste if you've written, I don't know, short stories, blog posts, small books, anything like that. You could paste it all in there, and then it will understand, and then it will write you one of those prompts where you can use now in different situations. And you know, writing. Does that make sense, Masi? Is that
I'm not sure if you got my question, right? My question was all the writing that I've done, right?
Yeah.
Usually I type with my own, from my heart, but
Yes.
from my English to English, then I make a prompt after my writing. When all of my writing that I have, and then
Yes.
maybe you've got a topic that is similar to something that I wrote, as you have
Yes.
said, AI has got a memory. How best do I then ensure that this writing that I've made that is of my own
Yeah.
is not cloned into your writing?
Oh, I see. So
Yes.
it depends on the AI model that you use. Because just to confirm, the text, the question is, if you're feeding your AI, like if you're writing in ChatGPT, it's going to learn your writing, and then other people will be able to learn your writing too, essentially, like and be able to use it.
Yeah,
Like
it's so like someone said creative writing.
Yeah.
So we write our minds, and then I make a prompt afterwards to suit whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then it generates this for Masi, right? But then someone else, let's say Whitney, who's got their hand up right now, then has the same prompt of writing something else. What are most of the things that maybe Whitney is not going to write like I do and then make a prompt afterwards, but then just say, write something like this for me? How would then AI be able to differentiate Whitney's writing from my writing?
So if you write a prompt, and then you give that prompt to Whitney, and then Whitney uses the prompt to write some piece of creative writing, the question is, how would you differentiate the thing that Whitney wrote using your prompt from your creative writing? Is that correct?
The title. It's yes, the same title that has been written by two different people, but maybe I have written and made a prompt, but Whitney just says, write something similar to this. Will AI not generate my work and put it onto Whitney's work?
I think I understand what you're saying. It is if you prompt well enough, and Whitney uses that prompt, or uses saying like, write like this, you know, write like Masi's style, certain AI models will make it very indistinguishable, especially something that's like really like a recent model like ChatGPT 03. It is good enough where it will be able to completely replicate your writing style if you give it the right writing choices. To kind of say that, there are certain things, and I'm a believer that human creativity cannot be replaced by AI yet. So if you were to write something without the use of writing, something from your soul, something that came, you know, I'm a big believer that, you know, creativity can, I don't know, it's something that is not algorithmic. You're not like logically thinking your way through creativity. It just comes out of nowhere a lot of these times. And I don't think AI can replace that. But in terms of the writing style, it can definitely get extremely close to what you're saying, what your writing style is, but it won't replace your creativity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, I hope I'm answering your question. I might still be
No, you are answering it very well. So there is you are like ticking all the boxes to me. So I was like thinking to myself, is we are in a writing competition, and then I write something, and then you write something, and then it becomes similar. Then there's going to be like a question of So who wrote what?
I think,
So is AI going to be putting us in that same?
I think Masi has essentially some copywriting concerns. So, so basically, if I'm creating something that is a very particular writing style, is
Yeah.
that going to be duplicated? In kind of like, my limited experience with AI is that when you're providing examples of your writing and the more that you can teach the AI, this is just my like kindergarten understanding, the more that you can teach AI about your particular style and your particular approach and your particular influences, like here's my favorite book, here's the kinds of theories that I want to reference in my thing, and here's some examples of my writing, the more it's going to create, very individual style for you. Is that accurate, Angus, or no?
If I will say most AI models have a really good sense of security. So if you're feeding it a bunch of your writing, it's going to it'll stay on your account. Like, how the AI picked up on my memory, my writing style, ChatGPT, but nobody else on another ChatGPT account will be able to access that. OpenAI especially will not train its model on your data. So if you give, certain ones will. Anthropic will like train this one, like the Claude one, Anthropic. If you gave it a bunch of your writing, it will learn that. And then if somebody else went to Anthropic and was like, write in the style of Masi, it won't have any idea who Masi is. But Anthropic will know your writing style because it's taking it and that's storing that. ChatGPT won't. It will only do it on your account and it won't share the data. That is a good question. All right, let's get on to another. Sula, do you want to? I see your hand up next.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I think for me it was AI is really nice, and I'm glad that you're having a program, sorry, a session on it. But then I think something I've realized is I was shocked that I use AI, but then I was shocked that it knows me better, that it could write who Sula Maweje is. Like at the end of December, I did say who is Sula Maweje, like, and then it just gave me this. And then there is that, but then also there is also ownership. So if you use AI, do you still own whatever? Let's say if you're someone who writes, a writer, do you still own part of that, the work that AI also helps you to create, let's say a book or something? You still have ownership as well. It's AI work.
Yeah, that question a little bit relates to Masi's. If you create anything with AI, you own that. It's just you used AI as a tool. And I might be misunderstanding again, but it is and again, it depends on the AI model whether it will share your data. But you will, if you use something to AI and you create a book with AI, you still own that. The book, you own that from a copywriting perspective or whatever. Is that what you're asking? Like in terms of ownership, in terms of like a.
Yes. In terms of ownership, because I think with AI, I think I don't know, like I've never read. Is it the terms and conditions? So anyone just uses it, but I don't know if it's there or anyone, because I think for creators and basically creators or creatives, that you use it for work to advance their work. So when it comes to that, like who owns what?
Yeah, that is an interesting conundrum that we're kind of getting into. But my advice would be, and this is actually goes into a question I see in the chat, would DeepSeek have those same protections? Is to use, if you really care about your privacy and your writing, you could totally use an open source model, and DeepSeek is an open source model. Basically meaning that you can download that model and use it it is not connected to the internet. It's your own personal AI model. And that would give you an extreme sense of ownership because that model isn't connected to the internet. Certain DeepSeek, if you go to DeepSeek on the actual DeepSeek website, DeepSeek, I forgot the website, that is connected to like a Chinese server and they are like taking your data. But there are people that have basically taken DeepSeek and put it on their own server and there's many different servers you can use DeepSeek. And that way you will have like your own complete ownership of everything you write. It won't be shared because this is hugely, this is something that people are afraid of, especially in healthcare. Like if you train an AI on patient records, that is like illegal. Like you can't, that's really private information. And so people are figuring out ways to make it local, to make it private, to make sure none of that information is shared. So it's yours. You have full ownership over it. Hulisani, do you have a question? I see a raised hand.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to go back to Mercy's question. Is it possible for us to actually do it in actual time? Maybe somebody prompt the same thing into maybe your chat GPT and mine and see if it generates the same thing?
It will. So ChatGPT again. If you are, I mean, we totally could test that. ChatGPT is one thing where it has a local memory, where it has essentially a thing where everything you put in ChatGPT, it learns about you, but it's not shared with anybody else. It's just your account learns about you. And that data is not like shared with anybody else. So you do have ownership of it. And then your friend who's on ChatGPT has its own memory. It learns about who they are and what they do. And so if you tested the same writing on ChatGPT, if you have this memory feature turned on, which I think is, where is it? Settings, it's like a memory thing. I forgot where it is, but oh, one thing. You see where it says improve the model for everyone? You want to turn this actually off. If you want them to not share your data, turn improve the model for everybody off. I actually had it on. I don't know why I had that on, but this is basically will allow, if you turn it off, it will not share your data. But there's a memory feature. I don't know. So it should have different responses. So if me and you went on ChatGPT and did it, it probably would have different responses. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Cool. All right, guys. I'm closing. I was only going to go ahead.
If I may.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't raise the hand, but I wanted to ask, like, also how safe is the LGBTQIA plus community safe on AI tools given the current political climate? Like currently, how safe? Because you just showed us how to turn if you don't want your work to be shared with anyone using AI. But then also for people who have not done that for years and who didn't know that, how safe is the community safe given the political, climate that is, globally?
So, yeah, good question. One, AI is something that, since it has a kind of advanced sense of thought, it's very like algorithmic in the way it doesn't really have it can work through a lot of its biases compared to humans who have these biases. So that's the first thing, is if you're talking to AI and you are, no matter what you're going to say, it's unless I should say AI itself will not be like hateful in any way, shape, or form. Even if certain, for example, this is I'll get to your question, like fully question in just a second, because I do understand it. Even examples where, for example, Elon Musk, who tried to make this Grok, and Elon Musk, as you know, an extremely controversial, obviously has tons of very strong biases, not a very good dude, tried to create an AI model called Grok that was trained on all of his like information on how he views the world, which is very conservative. And Grok on its own essentially became progressive and became like this, and essentially started fact-checking Elon Musk publicly. When Elon Musk would say something crazy, it learned that this guy that created me is a crazy person, and then would respond to Elon Musk. Essentially, Grok has its own Twitter or X account, and it would respond being like, this is deeply incorrect. So AI does learn and advance beyond human hate and human bias and can often become somebody that is actually can create logical decision making. So that's a funny example because it essentially is Elon Musk's own AI turned on him. But here's your question. If you do use secure AI, it can't be shared with anybody. And even if you don't use use AI that'll be secured with Anthropic or whatever, only Anthropic can view that information. And so nobody else from your government to people in your community will be able to access any of your specific data. Only if you are sharing your data with these companies, only the companies will be able to access it.
And I think the essential question, which you're answering so well, is certainly there was a time when folks thought that their information with Facebook, and Instagram was secure, and actively in Africa, Facebook, Grindr, Instagram, TikTok, those kinds of platforms are used to target vulnerable people. So I think the security question on the mind is does AI have the potential to be hacked to essentially create a list of people in the LGBT community with identifiable information that could target them?
Certain AI platforms, that is hypothetical. It is very, very, very unlikely, but it is hypothetically the truth, such as Anthropic, Claude. But a lot of AI platforms are security. They take it extremely seriously to the point where even the companies can't share your data. If you turn this setting off in ChatGPT, there's no way they can access your data. Instagram, Facebook, all of that is inherently public data. By posting something on Instagram or Facebook, even if it is like you have a private account, that is on the internet. A lot of these AI models your history is only associated with an encrypted database that is only associated with your account. So I would not worry about that, especially if you do something and you use an open source model like Llama, or if you go to ChatGPT and you make sure that you turn off this, what's it called, improve the model for everyone. That is a valid concern, but it is AI is one of these things where you don't actually have to worry that much about it. Does that answer you guys' question? Hopefully I answered okay.
Yes, I think so. Sounds like it.
Nice. All right, I am running on a little bit of time here. I'll have time for one more question, and then I'm gonna have to log off, and I'll send everybody here an email. I'm gonna make sure I copy all of these emails in the chat. Rethabile, is that how you say your name? Rethabile?
Retabile.
Retibile. I have time for one more question. I'll take your question, Rethabile.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask where you're talking about where you say that when you can improve the model for everyone, could it happen that if what ChatGPT produced for you can also come up when somebody else searches that, like the exact writing that it has produced for you? Can it be like Googleable, if I could say that?
If you turn this on, and I like the it's not Googleable in per se, but essentially what happens when you turn this on is when you write an answer, when you basically write a prompt and you get an outcome from that prompt. Sometimes it'll say like, was this a good outcome or a bad outcome? But that outcome and the prompt are essentially going to be put to the AI's brain, and the AI is going to search, like kind of configure your brain. You can't go in here and say, what did, Sula, her account and say like, what did they search? That is impossible to do. All it is doing is it's just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of information that is given to the AI's brain so it can learn more about how people are using its platform and how it can output better responses. That's how it works. It's not a specific thing. It's just going to be like a tiny little bit of sand in a sea of, like on a beach, essentially, that makes up the whole sand. It's not like a one specific thing that's saved. It's mainly a thing that's learned by the AI. I hope I'm making sense.
Vamos por iPhone 13. Vamos por 13. There we go.
I know I said one more question, but I could take quite literally, and then I do have to hop off at 10:50, and I will send everybody here an email. Martin, do you-
Francis, could you
And
mute?
guys, I think I muted.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you kindly unmute?
yeah.
Yeah, I muted him by mistake.
I was like, oh no.
Sorry, love. I muted you by mistake.
All right,
Yeah.
good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really want to appreciate the facilitator, but I have a question. My question is, look, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. My question is, could you please recommend a best plagiarism checker and AI detector for us? And here prompted this question. If after writing my work or my idea, sharing it with the ChatGPT, just like you said, I need to verify because there are some platform I need to submit my work and they will ask for plagiarism check. So I kindly request that you should please recommend, or while we are dropping our email, you should please recommend the best platform for plagiarism and AI checker. Thank you so much.
So,
Go
All
ahead.
right. And in addition, here I have someone here with me. How can one avoid plagiarism in his work? Thank you.
Your last question, what was it? I know you said, what is an AI detector? What's the best recommendation? What was the second part of that question? I might have missed it. And Justin, were you going to say something?
Yeah. We'll capture his question in chat, and I think we've got a lot of emails, which it indicates that people are really excited about this email that you're going to prepare. So, Mercy, can you make sure that you capture all the emails in the chat and share those with Angus? I have a good email for him. And Angus, thank you so much for taking the time to do this class. And I know that we are all hopeful that this can continue and that maybe this time slot works for you. And we keep, I mean, this is like scratching the surface to this huge new world that offers so many possibilities to this world.
Totally. No, I would love to. This is my that would be such a joy for me. Sounds good. I will make sure, also, if you could send me, that would be great. I'm like, how
Oops.
not accidentally left the meeting. Sounds good, Mossy. If you could send me those emails, that'd be great, and that would be fantastic. We can do this on a regular basis.
We love you, Angus. We know you got to jump, and so we hope that we'll see you next week at the same time if that works for you. We'll continue, and you're amazing. Thank you so much from all of us. Everybody, come off mute and give them a good 10-second goodbye.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
So thanks everybody for joining, and as you can all see, I'm gonna come on for a second. As you can all see, AI is vast, and there is so much that we can use AI for on every level. And we're lucky and grateful to have Angus up for helping us. We're gonna look for other kinds of instruction as we get the basics down with Angus. So we're gonna be ahead of the curve. But for right now, Angus is gonna be our guide. We'll plan on meeting here again next week, and Mercy's going to follow up and capture all of your emails that are in the chat and get that email that Angus talked about out to you so that you can check the AI checker and you can check out Claude, you can check out Gemini, you can check out ChatGPT and the other platforms. This is all new for me. Really appreciate everybody showing up today, and looking forward to seeing you in the skills class a little later this morning. Thanks, everybody.
See you in class, guys. Bye.
Guys.
Bye, everybody. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you in class.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Just an hour.
See you in an hour.